Hey guys, Kevin Downey from Kevin M. Downey. Thanks so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it. In this video, I want to talk about AI being used as a thought partner and a strategy for using it. And I'm going to keep this really short. That you might not have experimented with or you haven't tried, especially if you're a business owner, you're an executive leader, or even, frontline person in business and you're starting to use AI a little bit. I'm going to give you a tip. This is especially true when using AI as a thought partner, but can be used across the board in all standalone and manual use of AI. And again, we're partial to Claude and work with Claude and train on it for our clients and all that stuff. But you can apply a lot of these strategies in ChatGPT and other platforms or systems, right? So one of the things that I teach in our, when we talk about our general training, right, in our AI quarterback program, do a lot of general training and then a lot of one-on-one with owners and then leaders and people within the company to train them all on how to get the most out of AI in their position. And with owners and leaders in particular, AI as a thought partner is one of the first things I introduce them to, especially if they're new and unfamiliar with that. And part of a way that you get where you want to go with using it as a thought partner is to voice your chats into Claude rather than typing them. Okay. Now let me explain why. This is really, really important. It's a baseline thing that I train on with clients because we can speak much faster than we can type. And just out of pure habit, right, and convention to a degree, when we type, we try to type concisely, clearly. We try to make messages very stripped down and clear. And one of the things about AI, if you haven't dug into it heavily, that you will, if you use voice to text to message with Claude, whether you're using the web, using the computer app, or using the phone app, is that you can do voice to text, right? You can also, I'm going to show you can even do voice recordings, have them transcribe them, let's say on voice memos on iPhone, and you can brain dump that into Claude and have it, bring it out in a clear written format, a summary, a PDF, and I'll show you an example of that in a second. But from a basic strategy standpoint, I really push hard for clients to utilize Claude or AI and start practicing using voice to text or voice recordings and dump them into Claude as a transcription rather than typing everything back and forth, okay? And the reason why is because you will naturally go infinitely deeper, and I'm going to find one here that's not even business related, right? But as an example, this chat history, right, with Claude it's about a hobby. Doesn't really matter for this purpose, but you can see that this is all longer. This is not stuff you would type. This is all, the types of engagements you would go back and forth on where you're using voice to text. And what happens when you get into this kind of discussion with Claude and using it as a thought partner is that we go deeper with voice. We have more thoughts. We kind of, just like in my video here, I'm a little bit all over the place, right? I'm not scripted, right? That's what voice to text does. When you use your voice to convey thoughts, you naturally are going to, brain dump. You're going to have all kinds of different thoughts. You might be fairly linear, if you will, in the topic, and you might be pretty organized in your thoughts, but you're going to bring out more for Claude to work with than if you just type something, okay? And that is one of the secrets to using AI as a thought partner and to getting more out of it, because one of the golden rules is, we have two major golden rules that we teach, is that the more you put in, the more you get out. So the more you give it to work with, the deeper it can go for you and the more it can give back and do exchanges, okay? So an example of, this is just a test one, but this is showing like you can use the voice note right here so you can voice things here. If it's going to be just a minute or two, that's perfectly fine. When we get into longer recordings or longer audios, then we might want to record that as an audio, transcribe it, and you have built-in transcription on iPhone, and dump all of that transcription into Claude rather than try to do it in real time. Because especially if you're like me and you speak fast, and I average about 165 words or so a minute. Average for people is 150. The faster that you voice, 150 is the average for people. The faster that you voice, the more important, right? The real-time voice to text gets harder, as you would probably know from using it in your iPhone or your phone, whatever you have, right? It's harder for accuracy, right? So if you have something relatively short, just a minute or two, use the real-time voice to text option on Claude, on the app on your phone, whatever the case is. But the more that you're going to go deep with it as a thought partner, the more you want to process using voice rather than typing something. Because when we type, again, we go brief, right? We're much shorter. And again, you get more out of it when you put more in. Okay. Now let me show you an extreme version of this. This is something you would use for marketing departments. And this is something I teach companies. You can use it in every department in actuality, but one of the first departments I'm usually working with is marketing, right? The owners and then marketing, and then work with the other teams. And this is something that almost no one to date has done before. And when I show them this, they're just blown away. It blows their mind. They're like, oh my gosh, we can do this for creating marketing content, published, we can do audio, we can do video, we can do written documentation, we can do all kinds of different things with it. Not to mention in all the departments, you've got SOPs and knowledge bases and onboarding documentation, all these kinds of things where this strategy becomes really useful. So this is a almost 30-minute brain dump via audio, completely winging it. I had a little bit of an outline because one of my backgrounds is email marketing. I did B2B email marketing for 8 years for clients, sold that book of business, and got out of it because I was just gassed after 8 years of it, 110 million emails. But I know it inside and out, right? I know what the main infrastructures are that you need to have and all the strategies and everything like that, right? So I did this off of an outline. It was just maybe a few 5-6 main bullet points to cover. And I could just wing it, right? So I did this complete brain dump in voice memos on the iPhone. And then rather than giving it to Whisperflow or Otter or some other methodology to transcribe it, I actually took the transcription right from iPhone from Apple's technology to test it. And this is what you are looking at on the screen. That's 5,000 words, a little under that, in 29 minutes, 166 words a minute I was going at. And you take that and you give it to Claude. You say, Claude, organize this for me, right? And I'm going to show you what it did in 2 steps. So the first step it's going to do, if you're not familiar, if you have it pump out a summary or a document or anything, a lot of times it's going to give it to you in like a black and white kind of internal sort of format. But then you can have it turn it into a polished PDF. And I have art branding kind of guidelines and colors that I like to use already in memory in Claude. So it can now do it very easily with every single thing, every piece that we do. And we've gotten a little bit better over time in establishing that. But this brain dump turned into this in 2 steps. And here's the beautiful thing. It did not make a single mistake in any of this information. I read through it the first time and I was utterly blown away because one of the things I did in the audio is I had to backtrack because I made a mistake in saying something. And I said, wait, let me backtrack on that. We have to correct that it's this. It caught that in the transcription and did not miss a beat. Completely accurate from start to finish. Did it in a nice grid format with a little bit of coloration, all kinds of stuff. All the numbers were accurate. All the detail was accurate. Just amazing. And so my point in going through this is when you use AI as a thought partner, the power of voice and thinking, because again, 80% of people, right, work better from a voice standpoint to give their thoughts than typing in terms of speed and all the stuff. Now, there is some nuance to it, right? When to use voice, when to type, but it is a very underutilized methodology of working with AI or working with Claude. In my trainings, almost no one does it. And you find, or doesn't do it regularly, they type as their main way of communicating with Claude. And I try to show them, look, the more you have to give it, right? It's in your head. Do it by voice first. Give it as much as you can. It'll organize the heck out of it, right? It has no problem with a brain dump, as I showed you. So use that first and then refine it down, right? Let Claude help you refine it down into written. And maybe you need to correct a thing here or there. But at the end of the day, that is how you use it to really get a lot out of Claude, and especially when we're talking about it as a thought partner, which I've got all kinds of things in here that we use as demos for our general training that I do with clients and their teams. Okay. Hopefully that helps you. If you have any question, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com. Thanks for being here today. Really appreciate it. Best of luck in business, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.